Let's see how we can get started with Vue.js. Vue.js is similar to Angular and React, and this I'm assuming you know one of these technologies. So this is not a for beginner kind of video. So we will not be creating the Vue.js application in a proper way, like we will not use create Vue app or whatever Vue CLI to create it. We will create an HTML page, we'll include Vue.js in that page, and then we will start building our UI. So let's begin. There are two main versions of Vue.js. So Vue version 2 and Vue version 3. So 3 is the latest, obviously, and you probably will be working with one of them and probably even both if you're migrating from Vue 2 to Vue 3. I'll be seeing working in both. First, we'll see with Vue 2 and then we'll see with Vue 3. I've opened VS Code, created a folder, Vue course, and I'm starting off. So we'll go to cdnjs.com and this is a CDN. So you have a lot of JavaScript libraries being hosted here. And being a CDN, it will serve it with low latency. So if you're including a JavaScript file from here, it will be served very quickly to your browser. So we'll search for Vue and we'll include it in our HTML page. As you can see, the latest is 3.5.4. Let's start with Vue 2. So I'll search for the latest in 2, and that happens to be 2.7 something. So, so 2. Here it is somewhere. Yeah, here it is 2.7.16. So let's include that. The one that we need to include in the browser is Vue min.js. You can use ESM also, but that will require you to use import statements, ES 2015 feature, and also include your own script with type module which will be importing it. So in order to avoid those complications, I'll just use Vue min.js, which you can include as a script tag. So I'll copy this, or this you can copy. I'll copy the script tag itself. This is just the link to the hosted file. So we'll create one getting started. Getting started. .html. If you have a file that is an HTML file, ends with .html extension in VS Code, it should end with .html extension. You can put an exclamation enter, and you get this basic setup. So we'll see how to mount the app, that is how to display the basic UI. Let's see. So whatever UI we want to show, HTML, we want Vue.js to generate and render and take care of, like when the data associated with it changes, there's data binding just like Angular or React and it refreshes. So that we are going to see how to set up. First, we'll create an empty div. So this is where Vue.js will create the UI. We'll say ID, app, or anything you like, some identifier. And then we'll include our Vue script. So actually, I'll just say script, select script src, that gives a basic script tag, paste in the copied link to Vue 2.7.16 and create our own script. And here, first thing we will do is we will create the root application. So root instance, what Vue calls as a root instance. So there's a class called Vue, and you create an object of that class, new Vue. This is a class. We are talking about Vue 2.7.2 version. In version 3, this has changed. So you'll be using something called create app instead of creating an instance of Vue. So if you want, you can store this object. It'll be useful sometimes, like we'll see. So you call it root instance or whatever you like to call app or anything. So this is the object, storing it. And the first thing we will see is the L property. And you give a selector to the element where you want to render the UI. So inside this div, you're going to render the UI created by Vue. So give a selector for that, a CSS selector. So any selectors, class selector, ID selector, you give ID, hash app, like CSS ID selector. And then you would give the template. Like for example, you say template, and you give the HTML structure, the template. So I'll use backtick coded strings because you can spread it across multiple lines, unlike single or double coded strings. So this is backticks. It's not single coded. It's below the escape key. It's the backtick codes. That's again ES 2015 feature. You can spread it across multiple lines. These single line coded strings, you cannot spread it across multiple lines. So template is the HTML structure. Let's say div hello view. All right, right. So this template is what will be rendered in this app. That's what we're saying. So that's all you need to do. Now we'll see the UI. Right click, copy path, open, and you can see hello view. So this is the UI created by Vue.js. Otherwise, if you see what HTML came to you, either by view page source, right click, and I'm not seeing it once again. Right click, yeah, here, view page source. You see the HTML actually does not have any UI. That's created by this code, JavaScript code, Vue.js based code, which creates, which renders this template, this div within this app. And that's why you see, if you inspect, I'm inspecting, I'm going to the elements tab. You see, you will see here that within your, in place of your div, so that is taken away. So this placeholder div will be replaced by whatever is the UI you're trying to replace. So that's like a placeholder that's replaced by this, as you can see, right? So you don't see the div ID app. So you see this div hello view. So that's how it works. It's like a marker for it to render. So you could use multiple things like app1, app2, like that. You can create different containers and have different root elements for each of these, one for this, one for this, one for this, but nobody generally does that. There's no great point about it. There's no great use for that. So generally, you'll have one of these placeholders and you'll render something, the root instance. Now, there is one more way you can render this, and that is using mount. Again, in Vue 2, it's called $mount. You call it, it's a method of this root instance. So you say root.$mount. So either you can say directly here, like if you don't store a variable like root, so you say $mount and it's actually lowercase m. So instead of that, since we have an object of with name root, reference by root, so it's a root.$mount. Either way you can do $mount and give the selector here instead of here. So these are alternatives, L and root.mount. So what's the difference? This is a bit more flexible. See, here when you use root view and we saw the UI comes up, but then the UI should be all ready. Sometimes you might want to create a root instance. Some initial setup will be done, but it won't show up on the screen when you do, until you do $mount, until you call $mount. So if you don't have L, it'll actually not show up. Like you can see, I'll comment this mount and the L both. And you can see it will not come up. There's no error also. It will not come up because you have neither pass L nor mount. Both these are alternatives. One of them you have to use. Mount, calling mount gives you a chance to do something in between though. So do something else. Maybe fetch some data that you want to set up or something. Do something else. Right? Do something else. So you'll have some more code probably. So this is a more general way, and then you can call root.mount and it'll show up on the screen. So it gives you a chance to delay the rendering till the time you want to, not right away when you create this root instance. Now it will show up. Of course, you have to give the selector here, hash app, ID selector, it's app here. Now it will come up. Hello view. Great. So this is the basic two options you have for rendering. In Vue 3, as I said, this has changed. You don't create a root object like new view. Instead, you use something, an API called view.createApp, and then you have mount function there without the dollar in Vue 3. So they've removed the L option in Vue 3. Vue 3, there are two ways of working with it. One is called Options API, which is compatible with which is basically the way you work in Vue 2, like we are seeing now, and something called Composition API, which is a new way of working with Vue. And we would be seeing both ways in this course. So that's the basic rendering. Now, in Vue, you do data binding, and that is what we'll see in the next video. Thanks for watching.